Hey everybody, this is Latoya. This is not a no more hiding video because I'm out of hiding, but this is a video to talk to everybody who is thinking about suicide, who is considering suicide, and who feels like suicide is the only option. Last night we had a prayer call and it was truly amazing. I'm going to post that link shortly for anyone who wants to listen to the prayer call. The prayer call was like 2 hours. I prayed, I think, at the end of every hour. But there were some phenomenal prayers on there. Some friends that I absolutely love who just like literally brought heaven down. But tonight, I want to just talk to you for a second because I want to share with you some of the things that God has shared with me concerning suicide. And when I found those things out and when I heard those things, it truly like changed the way that I thought. It changed the way that I viewed even myself and the confidence that I now have. A couple months ago, I was sitting there and I was talking to God about just the suicide spirit as a whole. And I think it was a young man or so that I had came in contact with who said that he was going to his room because he didn't feel like living anymore. And I asked the young man, I said, you know, why don't you go tell your parents? And even though I knew he wasn't going to tell, I think something in me still wanted to ask the question. And I asked him, and he said, because my mom has 5 kids. And to me, you know, and to a child, it's like, okay, your mom has 5 kids, but you're important and you matter, and you're thinking about suicide, and you definitely have to tell your parents. But to a person who's been there and done that, I understood completely. Because what he was saying was, my mother is busy with the other 5 children, that she doesn't have time for me. My mother is consumed with life. She's consumed with working. She's consumed with fixing dinner and making sure the little ones go to bed, that I don't want to burden her with this problem. And even though we all know that he probably could have ran downstairs and said, Mom, I think about dying, and she would have probably stopped everything she had to do, this little boy was so conscious of the mental state or the emotional state or the physical state of another being that he did not want to bother them. So, of course, as I began to go to God, I said, God, please help me understand the characteristics of the person that's thinking about suicide. And the characteristics that I heard back or that I meditated on was that most people who think about suicide, not all, but most, in my book, in my personal opinion, are the most loving people that you'll ever meet. They're caring, they're giving, they're compassionate. They have empathy, they have love. And literally, they rather self-inflict, they rather isolate themselves, they rather go into a corner than to tell somebody else that they're hurting. Not just because they feel like no one will listen, but they feel like they don't want to burden somebody else with their problems. Isn't that interesting? They don't want to tell somebody else what's going on. And so instead of telling somebody else, they rather hurt themselves. They rather bottle it all up. They rather hold it all in because they don't want to be a burden to someone else. And as I began to think about this, I'm like, man, these people are powerful. You know, they have so much to offer. They have so much. They literally have the glue that can hold the world together. But because the enemy has tried to trick them to make them feel like they weren't good enough, they literally are in isolation. What kind of trick is that, man? That the people who are the most powerful, not saying anyone else isn't powerful, but the people who are powerful, some of the people that are the greatest people, the greatest speakers, the greatest lovers of one another are the people that are sitting in their bedrooms wanting to die. And I remember some of these states myself. You know, I remember being younger, and I remember sitting on my bed, as I tell the story all the time, with the razor blade, the knife, and the plastic bag. And I remember wondering, how could I end my life? It wasn't because all hell was breaking loose around me. I had pretty good living conditions. It wasn't because, you know, I felt like the life was completely going to an end. It was simply because I felt like I didn't matter. I felt like no matter how hard I tried, and no matter how much I did, that it wouldn't measure up to the standards of another person. Be careful with the standards that you put on other people, because there's some individual who's really feeling like they can't get it right. They always fail you. They always get it wrong. Be careful with your children when you're trying to get them to be the best, and they're falling short of that expectation. Be careful with those expectations, because children literally may be sitting there trying to do something that they just can't do. And because they want to please you, because they want to make other people happy, because they don't want to burden people, they self-inflict. So I asked the question, man, you know, where are these powerful superhero kids? The heroes that are literally sitting there, and they've been so hurt. They've been they've been bullied, right? They've been bullied because they love. They've been bullied because they're different. I think different's pretty cool. Because it's in the person that is different. It's in the person that stands out. It's in the person that doesn't fit in. That can literally transform this nation. Because think about it. If we all did the same thing, if we all walked the same direction, who would be the change? Man, and maybe it's just because I advocate against suicide, but I believe it's the little kids who feel like they don't matter. The little kids who feel like they're not good enough. The little kids who feel like no matter what I put on, what I say, and how I act, I can never fit into the status quo. I believe it's those children who will literally stand up in the next generation and say, you know what? Everybody else is going right, but I am bold enough to go left. And it's in that left decision that life, man, that life occurs, that change happens, and revolution begins to hit this atmosphere. So I wanted to share that. I thought it was so powerful. I also, you know, as I was getting through more suicide stories and more things with God and saying, God, why is this happening? And why do people feel the way they feel? I began to also think about as I got older, why does the devil want me to die? And I know that might be kind of heavy for some people as you're listening, but why is the attack so strong on my life? You know, why after being touched by this person and touched by that person and moving in with this person and watching this person die, and I hear your stories, why after this person has left me, that friend talked about me, and why after I repented and tried to get it right, do I still get it wrong? Why is the enemy after me? Why every 5 minutes do I have to cry the why me story? Why is my life so hard? Can I suggest to you that your life is so hard because literally the enemy rather take you out than allow you to live? See, all your life you've been looking at your circumstances saying, man, my life sucks. I want to suggest and do a perspective change and say your life is completely amazing. Why? Because the enemy thinks you're so powerful. The enemy understands that you're so anointed. The enemy understands that there's a purpose in your life that is so great that he literally rather take you out than to allow you to breathe. Man, I must be dynamic, right? That he wants me to shut up instead of talk. He wants me to isolate myself instead of allowing myself to be interacting with society. He'd rather have me close the door to my bedroom than to go downstairs and say something that can literally transform and change a household. Can I suggest that you're powerful beyond measure? Man, if you're watching this video and you're like, man, suicide is on my mind, I want to flip the script. I want to change your perspective and let you know that you are so powerful because the enemy doesn't even want you to breathe. See, some people get attacked, and I'm being biased here, so don't tweet me, don't Facebook me and messages and saying that my story is different, my story is equally as important. I understand that. We all go through stuff. But I'm talking to the kids with suicide right now who literally are saying, I quit. Man, let me suggest to you that you are so powerful that other people can struggle and still live. But you are so powerful that the tormenting spirit is trying to take you off the face of the earth. You're so powerful that the enemy doesn't even want you to wake up because he understands that if you wake up, you'll have one more opportunity to transform this society. You have one more chance to get it right. You have one more chance to be exactly what God called you to be. And he is mad that you're that close because he understands that if you get that close, if you activate it, if you do it, if you beat it, that he will have no other chance. Man, I tell the story all the time about how when my mom died, I thought it was over for me. You know, I thought it was over where I thought I would be just like her. You know, she lived a life of promiscuity. She lived a life of physical abuse and emotional abuse. She lived a life of drugs and selling drugs and going to prison. And not that I was doing all of those things, but I was living a life that was careless. I wanted love and support so bad that I was willing to do anything for it. And so when she passed away, the first thought that hit me was, man, I'm going to be just like my mother. Now what? And I remember going to her house, and I remember them telling me that the body was still laying on the ground. I just wanted to see her one last time. But somewhere in that span of time as my mother was dying, I had a revelation. You guys may have heard me say it before, but I had a revelation that said to me that all the stuff that you've ever been through was never for you in the first place. And I remember, excuse me, I remember like sitting there and being perplexed. Like, what do you mean? You know, what do you mean? Like, life sucks. I had been through so much. And I remember sitting there and understanding that everything that I had ever been through was never for me. It was like I had a chalkboard behind my head that listed everything that I had ever been through. It was the perfect resume. And it was people in front of me, people like you, people like your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your referrals, your co-workers, your kids that you teach in schools. And they were literally standing in my line waiting for me to help them with their struggles. Now we understand the concept of a resume, right? I know in the natural settings when I worked at PNC Bank, I would have a resume. And the better the resume, the better qualified I was for the position. And I like to equate this story to that because people always say, man, why do I have to go through so much? Why do I have to go through so much hell? Why is my story the way that it is? Can I suggest to you this? The more you go through, the more you endure, the more you make it out of, the more you survive, the better you are to be able to affect society. What do I mean? That's crazy, right? But think about it. If I was able to survive suicide, I am now a little more qualified to sit here and record this 17-minute video. Right? I'm a little more qualified to sit on the other side and say, hey, I've been there, I've done that. This is how you make it out. If I've never went through this, you would press in really quickly because I would have nothing to say. I wouldn't be able to relate to you. I wouldn't be able to connect to you. I wouldn't be able to identify. But because I've been there, done that, not once, but twice, and almost 3 times, I'm able to sit on this computer and say, listen, I've been through that. Now, what if God understood that? And we all know, I think he did, right? He understood that LaToya Jones would be such a person that will be able to do such a thing. So he literally had to prepare me since birth to be qualified enough to accomplish that which he's put in me. Now, can you look at your own life? What has he qualified you for? What has he prepared you for? What situations and circumstances is he putting you through right now so that you'll be better off later, that you'll be more qualified, that you'll be equipped to handle the assignment that he's giving you? Man, sometimes we say, God, I want to be great. I want to be successful. And God is saying, you're going to do all of that. But in order to be great, in order to be successful, you must first experience heartbreak. You must first experience the feeling of having somebody lie on you. You must first experience rejection. You must first experience low self-esteem. You must first know what it feels like to overcome and conquer death. You must understand what it feels like to overcome and conquer divorce. You must know what it feels like to have people stripped from you from the left and to the right, and you're standing there all alone. You must first understand what it feels like for you to have nothing. Because in order to qualify you for success, I need you to pass a couple classes on your resume. Because the resume that I'm going to give you is going to be so powerful that no man's going to be able to turn you away ever again because you are qualified. Now, I know that's not normal. I know that's not normal teaching. I know we don't teach that. But I'm suggesting to you that everything that you've ever been through is a setup to prepare you for everything that you're going to be. So let's put it all together. Like I said, when I was 14, I asked God, I said, God, a couple months ago, I said, God, what is the characteristics of a suicide? He said they're loving, they're caring, they endure. They are literally stronger than they ever could imagine. But somehow it got twisted and they thought they were weak. So let's put that qualification with the simple fact that now you're building a resume. Let's put that with the fact that the enemy doesn't want you to live because he understands if you get to that job, if you get to that dream position, purpose we're talking about, if you get to that final destination, that you'll be more powerful than ever could imagine. So he's trying to take you out. I think it's a trick, man. And I'm tired of being tricked. Like, I spent my whole life trying to be dogged out. I spent my whole life people trying to play me. I spent my whole life people trying to make me feel like I'm not good enough. And guess what? The enemy's not getting this last laugh. I'm going to live. I'm going to live. And I'm going to show him every little bit of that resume, every little bit of those stories and those situations that he thought he had me in. Oh, man, I'm about to make hell, and I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be great, and I want you to tell yourself that today. You may be feeling like suicide is the only option. Man, don't let them win, because if you let them win, you're never going to see tomorrow, and I guarantee you that tomorrow, not physically 24 hours, but the greater that lies ahead is better if you simply change your perspective, if you simply understand how powerful you are, if you simply find a piece of hope. Now, does it take more than hope? Absolutely. We need prayer. We need Jesus. Sometimes we need counseling. But man, if I could make it, not only 1 suicide attempt, not only 2 suicide ideations, not only 3 suicide ideations, I'm still here. So I wanted to stop because suicide is going crazy. You are worthy. Listen, man, tweet me at Alive on Purpose. Facebook me at LaToya Jones or I'm Alive on Purpose. Follow me on IG at Alive Toya or Alive on Purpose. Let's do this together. I am dedicated to this, man. This is my life because I understand the suicide spirit, not only in warfare, but I understand it naturally. I understand what's coming up against you. And you may think that nobody else in your life understands, but I see you, oh powerful one. I see you, oh loving one. I see you. Man, life is amazing if you simply choose to live it. So I wanted to record this video. It was on my heart. I love you. Peace. Check out the prayer call. It'll be up in a couple hours. But live with me. Peace.